Every productivity influencer on the internet wants you to do the same thing. No phone, no social media, no junk food, no dopamine for 24 hours. They call it a dopamine detox. They say it'll reset your brain, fix your motivation, and make you finally productive. And millions of people, millions, are doing it. There's just one problem. Dopamine doesn't work that way, not even close. And I'm not saying this to be contrarian. I'm saying this because the real science of dopamine is so much more interesting and so much more useful than anything those videos will ever tell you. So stay with me, because by the end of this video, you're going to understand your own brain better than most psychology students do. And you're going to know exactly what to do about it. Let's get into it. Here's the situation most of us are living in right now. You wake up. Before your feet even hit the floor, you've already checked your phone. You scroll for 20 minutes, you open YouTube, you open Instagram. You tell yourself you'll stop, but somehow an hour is gone. Then, when it's time to do something that actually matters, study, write, work out, build something, you just can't. The task feels gray, boring, impossible to start. And someone on the internet tells you that's because you've fried your dopamine receptors. They say your brain is so flooded by cheap dopamine from social media and junk food that real life, real work, real effort can't compete anymore. They say the fix is simple. Starve your brain of all pleasure for a day. Sit in a white room. Stare at the wall. Let your dopamine levels reset. It sounds logical. It feels scientific. But here's the thing. The people saying this have never read a neuroscience paper in their life. Because if they had, they'd know that you literally cannot detox dopamine. That's not how any of this works. Welcome to Neuroscience, where we cover hidden science of the brain. Let me break down what dopamine actually is, because the real answer is wild. Dopamine is not a pleasure chemical. I know. Pause on that for a second. Every meme, every wellness post, every detox video calls it the pleasure chemical. But neuroscientists largely moved past that idea decades ago. The research, particularly the work of Dr. Kent Berridge at the University of Michigan, shows that dopamine is actually the chemical of wanting, not liking, wanting. Here's the difference. When you scroll TikTok, dopamine isn't making you feel good. It's making you feel compelled to keep going. That itchy, restless, just one more feeling, that's dopamine. The satisfaction you actually feel when you laugh at a video, that's opioids, your brain's own internal painkillers. Dopamine is the engine of anticipation and motivation. It fires before the reward, not during. In fact, in studies where rats had their dopamine systems completely blocked, they still showed signs of enjoying pleasurable things. They just stopped pursuing them. They wouldn't move toward food even if it was placed near their mouth. Dopamine isn't about pleasure. Dopamine is about drive. So, what does this mean for you? It means the real problem isn't that you've had too much dopamine. The problem is that your brain's wanting system has been hijacked to want the wrong things. Things that are easy to get, instant to deliver, and designed by billion-dollar companies to keep you coming back. And here's the second thing the detox crowd gets wrong. You can't actually lower your dopamine baseline by taking a day off. Dopamine isn't a tank that gets full and needs draining. It's a dynamic signaling system. The second you re-expose yourself to those triggers, it responds the same way it always has. That's why everyone who does a 24-hour dopamine detox feels great for about 3 days, and then slides straight back into the same patterns. They didn't change anything. They just took a break. So, if detoxing is a myth, what do you actually do? The real science points to 3 levers that genuinely reshape your dopamine system over time, not in a day, but for real. Lever 1, friction. Your brain's wanting system responds to availability. The more accessible a dopamine trigger is, the harder your brain pulls toward it. So instead of going cold turkey for 24 hours and then putting everything back the same way, you engineer your environment for friction. Delete the apps. Don't just close them, delete them. Put your phone in another room when you work. Lever 2, effortful rewards. Here's something fascinating. Dopamine fires more intensely when a reward is earned versus when it's just given. Studies on this are clear. The dopamine response to a reward you worked for is qualitatively different from one that was handed to you. The brain encodes earned rewards as more meaningful, more motivating. This is why exercise is one of the most powerful things you can do for your dopamine system. Not because it releases dopamine in some vague way, but because it trains your brain to link effort with reward. You are literally teaching your wanting system to want hard things. Same principle applies to cooking your own meals instead of ordering out, learning an instrument. Do this consistently, and your brain starts craving the effort, not just the payoff. Lever 3. Delay. One of the most underrated tools in neuroscience is the pause. When you feel the urge to check your phone, to open a new tab, to grab a snack, don't white-knuckle resist it. Just delay it by 10 minutes. Research shows that craving impulses peak and naturally subside within minutes if you don't feed them. And every time you delay instead of immediately acting, you're strengthening the prefrontal cortex's connection to the reward circuit. You're not suppressing desire. You're training your brain to tolerate the space between wanting and having. Do that enough times, and that space is where your whole life changes. Here's the real talk section. The dopamine detox trend became popular because people are genuinely suffering. They feel out of control, distracted, unmotivated, and that is real, and it deserves a real solution. But the detox framing sends you in the wrong direction. It tells you the problem is a substance, dopamine, when really the problem is a relationship. A relationship between your brain's wanting system and the environment you've built around yourself. You don't need to punish yourself with a blank, joyless day. You need to redesign your environment, train your brain with effortful rewards, and practice sitting with the delay. That's not a 24-hour reset. That's a lifestyle. And it's one that neuroscience actually backs up. All right, here's what I want to know from you. Drop in the comments, which of those 3 levers, friction, effortful rewards, or delay, do you think would make the biggest difference in your life right now? If this video changed how you think about dopamine, even slightly, share it. Send it to someone who's about to spend a weekend staring at a wall thinking they're resetting their brain. You might save them a very boring Sunday. Subscribe and hit the bell. I drop a new video every week.